Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to be replacing the transmission fluid on my Jeep. I've ordered this kit off of eBay. It came as a complete kit, so with new filters, gasket and fluid. I believe you're not meant to use the gasket rather, and use a silicone sealant, so I've also ordered some silicone sealant as well. So I'm going to take you along for this ride and let's see how we get on. What to do is to remove the dipstick. And it's in there. That's just to allow air back into the transmission case so the fluid can come out. I've already lifted the vehicle up into the air, and what we're going to be doing is removing these 10mm bolts all the way around, and then there is no hole in this sump, so basically we've just got to try and let some of the oil cascade over the back of the sump until there's just enough in there that we can then drop the sump down completely. So not a great start. I was told it was a 10mm bolt, and actually it's 8mm. So my understanding is that the pan is bonded to the transmission, and to remove all of the rear bolts but not to remove the front bolts, then to lower the rear part of the pan down and let the oil pour over the back of it. It's not made of particularly strong metal, it's quite a thin steel pan, so I'm going to try not to distort the pan in doing it. I'm quite safe to remove these bolts because it is bonded to the transfer or transmission case, so even with all the bolts removed it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to need some taps or prying to break the seal. I can already smell the gearbox oil. If you've ever done any kind of gearbox work before in the past, it's got a very unique smell, kind of like cat's urine, not very pleasant. So what I've done is I've used a screwdriver and a Stanley knife just to open up this side of the sump to try and direct the oil flow to one corner and try and catch it in this oil catcher. So that went slightly better than expected. I did have a lot of patience and didn't try and rush the process, so managed to get the majority of the oil out before the sump came down. It wasn't too heavy with one arm, just to lower into the drip tray. So just got to clean up under here and dispose of the oil into the oil drainer. Then we'll be cleaning up the gasket edges and replacing the filters. So the next stage is going to be to remove the old sealant, just clean up the mating edges and clean up the pan. Whilst we're doing that, the transmission is still dripping oil out into the drip pan, so let's clean the valve there. In this corner of the sump is a magnet, and this catches all of the worn bits of metal from inside the gearbox, all the stuff that the filters couldn't catch. Quite a lot of sludge in there, no nasty bits of no nasty lumps of metal, so nothing to be worried about, but I'm guessing this is one of the reasons why they recommend to do this regularly. It's just to get rid of the amount of small particles of metal that might be gathered in the gearbox. Got some brake cleaner here which will help remove a lot of the oil. So the next thing to do is to remove the transmission filter. This is a T25 bolt. Okay. And the next thing to remove is the other filter. Tried to remove it by hand, but it didn't want to shift. So I'll just get that. Just use this wrench to lodge it. So this is the moment of truth. Have I got the right parts? And looks good. This one has got the gasket on the end. The gasket for that one is still inside the gearbox, so I'm going to have to fish that out before I fit this one. So it came out with a pair of pin nose pliers. It does look different from the gasket I'm replacing it with. So I'm just going to check it is the right size. Yeah, it's different. It's just that this one is a rubber one, this one's a metal one. I'd say that's a better one than that one. Oil filter has a bit of a loose gasket. It'll be okay once it's in. Just going to use a bit of oil on it so it doesn't drag when it goes in place, but yeah, just make sure that O-ring is in before installing it. So there we can see new filter, and got both filters installed. Just need to clean up these gaskets and then it'll be ready to refit the pan. So I've cleaned up the sump, just going to blast it off with brake cleaner before applying the sealant. I've reinstalled the magnet. Right, now I'm just going to go around with my finger and squidge it out, essentially.
So I finished up underneath the car and decided to wait 24 hours for the RTV to go off. That's what the packet said, and I know some people would fill it straight away and then run it, and the heat of the engine would cure the RTV, but it was a real pain to clean the surfaces up. So if I had to take that sump off again and clean it, that was the worst bit of the whole job. So decided wasn't going to be using the car for the rest of the day, so I thought I'd leave it 24 hours and fill it up today. Weather's taken a turn for the worst, so I've parked the car underneath the garage door as much as I can, and I'm going to be filling it. I've put a tarpaulin just over the section of the bonnet because I don't want any water getting into the gearbox. So to fill the gearbox, I have to remove the dipstick again. And I'm going to be using a funnel just to make it easier. I don't spill it so far, and I've just put this bit of cardboard over the front of the engine, so if I do spill any, it's not going to make a big mess over the engine. So I've set up a system here where I've got the can resting on the top of the engine and going into the funnel, and then I'm just basically increasing the rate of flow by twisting the can like that, and then just checking with a light to see it isn't spilling out onto the top of the engine. So it's 5 litres, and then I've got another 2 litres. It's a 6 litre capacity, and there'll obviously be some left over from the drain, so it's going to be a long time filling. So I'm back off road test, and I had to put all 7 litres of oil into the gearbox. I'd put 6 litres in. The driveway is very slightly sloped, like most driveways, and the dipstick was indicating that it was overfilled, even though I'd only put 6 litres in. So what I did was to basically get the used oil and fill it back into the old bottles. There's still some oil left in there, and I ran out of containers. I wasn't sure whether I'd need to add this last litre in. However, I poured what was left into that jar there, which is about 800 millilitres, and like I said, there is still some left in there. So once I put 6.5 in, still didn't want to drive, put the full 7 in, and went out on road test, and it started to drive. Not very happy. Took it down the dual carriageway, and I could feel that all of the gears were there. It was getting into top gear. However, the gear changes still aren't 100%. So when I got it home, I basically put it on the drive so that if I put it forward and into neutral, it wanted to roll forward. So I put it into back and put it into neutral. So I basically found a level on the driveway and checked it. It was showing that the oil level was on the marker for when the engine was cool. However, the engine indicator was on hot, so yeah, needs another litre of oil. So I'm out of oil at the moment. Going to order another litre and then try it from there. So it's 2 days later, and I've ordered some more oil from the same supplier that supplied the last oil. It was a Sunday that I left off with you, and everywhere was closed on a Sunday, and I wanted to make sure that I got the right oil. If I mixed the wrong oil with it, it could completely destroy the gearbox, so it wasn't worth the risk. going to start the engine up, and whilst the engine's idling, I'm initially going to add half a litre. So it's been about 3 weeks since doing the oil change, and the gear change did seem to improve. It got to the point where it was, I would say, silky smooth, apart from the odd what felt like a misfire going from second to third, but as we got closer to the third week, started to have a bigger problem. And basically I've lost all drive in third gear. First and second still work, but nothing in third. So I'm just going to show you that now. So we put it down into first. Got first. Into second. And then if I put it into drive, this happens. Nothing at all. Still got reverse, and like I said, still got first. So come to the conclusion that cleaning the gearbox oil was probably not the best thing to be doing. From what I understand, and I'm no transmission expert, the problem can happen where the service has been left overdue and you get basically a build-up of gum inside the gearbox. When you put the new fluid in, that new fluid strips the gum and cleans the gearbox out, and it's no longer got the frictional material, and the gearbox prior to that was worn out, and it was just the gum and dirt that was holding it all together. Certainly when we had the sump off, we did see that there was a lot of silver in there, which I didn't think was too bad. There didn't seem to be any big lumps of metal, but it was obviously a sign that there was significant wear in the gearbox. So I think this is going to be the end for this car due to this significant fault. There are other ongoing issues with the vehicle which I've been trying to address, but I think this will put the nail in the coffin for this one. A gearbox rebuild would be way outweigh the value of the car. So yeah. So I'd like to say thanks for watching. I hope this video has helped. If it has, then please like and subscribe, and feel free to comment down below.